Hey guys, Exotic Dan here. Welcome back to another episode where I react to and learn things about Australia. So today in this video, I am going to be reacting to a video called Why Living in Australia is Impossible. So Australia, what is going on out there? Why is it considered impossible to live out there? I'm actually a little bit curious on finding out why it's impossible to live out there. Like in Australia, you have like such beautiful scenery. You got beautiful beaches and a whole bunch of other great things as well, like wildlife. You got kangaroos, you got koalas. Like there's a lot of great things about Australia that makes it interesting to be a tourist attraction and a place where people sometimes actually want to go for their vacations. So I'm actually kind of curious on finding out why it's impossible to live out in Australia. So with this video, I'm hoping to find some answers among why it's impossible to live in Australia. So without further ado, let's see why it's impossible to live in Australia. Let's take a look.
2023. For only the third time in 40 years, Australia entered a per capita recession. The result? Australian wages declined to levels not seen since June 2011.
Oh my god.
Even with devastating bushfires, the COVID-19 pandemic and lockdown, when polled, there was one thing that affected Australians more than anything else: the cost of living. Over the last few decades, Australia has experienced one of the greatest housing booms the world has ever seen.
Oh my god.
Since 1973, Australian house prices have increased by 36 times across the capital cities.
Whoa. This is Australian housing pricing. So they basically increased by 30% for house prices. And some of these housing prices in these capital cities are way far extreme than what they are here in Canada. Like, in Canada, like, we may expect, like, something like $500. Like, that's average for a price, but 800, like $875, $817, $1 million for a house. That is insane. I really don't know what to say here. Like, and as we can, I don't know if my face cam is blocking this, but there's these two colored bars. The blue bar basically presents what it was in 1973, and the so yeah, it's definitely a really big increase from the 1970s to the 2020s. Wow. Yeah. So in Sydney, it was like $27,000, and now it's $1 million. What? How on earth does it get to that extent? That is insane. Like, I could imagine, like, this being frustrating for Australians to just find a place to, like, live and even be able to, like, afford rent, because when you own a house, you have to pay things off. Like, you have to pay off insurance, you have to pay off the house, and all the bills that come with it, like hydro, water, internet, all that stuff. Like, it's crazy that these are actually real prices for houses in Australia. So $27,000. So $27,400 in 1973. Now it's $1,154,406. And that's how much it is to get a house in Australia. That is probably by far the most expensive price for any house in the whole entire world that I've probably ever really seen. I don't even think houses in Canada would go for like $1 million. And is this like monthly? Like, do you have to pay like $1 million a month to pay off your house in Sydney? That's something I kind of want to know. But yeah, that's crazy to me.
And Sydney is now the second most unaffordable place to live in the world.
Oh my gosh.
How and why did we end up here? This is the dark side of Australia. Australia is one of the most beautiful places in the entire world.
Yes.
Surrounded by oceans filled with world-class beaches, cities, and parks, the country looks like a paradise. But if you want to live here, it's easier said than done. To buy the median home in Melbourne, a family needs to earn at least $170,000 per year. In Sydney, that number balloons to $260,000 per year.
What?
Compare this to the median household income in both cities of $100,000, and it becomes clear that home ownership is far out of reach for most Australians.
Oh my gosh.
Now, some might argue that this is only a Sydney or Melbourne issue. But that's just not the case. Since 2020, house prices in Brisbane, Adelaide, and Perth have increased by over 50%,
What?
while wages only grew 12%. Home ownership is becoming less and less attainable for many Australians, especially young Australians.
Oh, it's rough. Rough. Yeah, we can't find anything really.
Young people have not had the luxury to benefit from skyrocketing home values and are constantly playing catch up. The result?
That is insane to me. Like, I could imagine like what it's like to be like a young person in Australia trying to find a place to live and to start off your own family. Like, to me, like if I was in that situation trying to find my own place in Australia, I could imagine that just finding a place in general is a lot harder than it actually seems, because if the prices are that expensive, like $170,000 to $200,000, that is insane. Especially due to the fact that the median family cost doesn't even reach that point, because it only goes to like 100,000. So that makes it like so much more harder to like even live in Australia, because you have to like make at least like a couple more $100 at least to at least find a living in Australia. Sometimes like, and maybe even like 10 at least. Like, that's crazy to me. I really don't know what to say here. Like, this is insane to me, like how this is like actual real house prices. Like, not even in, like, houses in Canada, yes, they are expensive, but they don't go anywhere close to like what we just saw previously. Like, yes, there are some places like Vancouver which are pretty expensive to live in. Same with a lot of big major cities in Ontario and Quebec as well. But they don't go anywhere close to like what Australia is like. Like, to me, this is crazy. And it makes me wonder, like, how on earth you're even able to like pay off like all these like bills and taxes you have to pay for your house in order to like live in it like every month. Like, that is insane to me, because if you don't pay your bills, you basically lose your house. So that's crazy to me. Like, this is actually like a real crazy thing. Like, some houses in Canada, they can go for like around $680. $680,000. That's how much a house can go for here in Canada. But they don't go anywhere close to $1 million or even $800,000 in that matter. So this is crazy to me. Like, this is actually something that's actually happening. Wow.
Home ownership rates for people under 34 have declined nearly 25%. The craziest example of Australia's housing crisis was this home in Sydney. It was sold without a toilet, without power, and without a kitchen.
What? What? Okay. How on earth do you sell... Okay, because... Hang on. Let's go back. Okay, look at the house here. This is a house in Sydney. And if we go here, it says that this house has no kitchen, has no toilet, has no power, and it was sold for $3.5 million. How on earth is this? Why do you want to sell a house that has no kitchen, no toilet, or power? Like, how on earth do you live in a house like that? I'm sorry if you hear any noise in the background, by the way. That's just like some engines roaring outside my house. But anyways, back to what I was saying. $3.5 million for a house in Sydney that doesn't have a kitchen, doesn't have a toilet, and doesn't have power. Why is this being advertised? And who would want to buy a house that doesn't have a kitchen or a toilet or power? How on earth is this even livable? I guess if you need a kitchen, does that mean you like have to like go out to like a restaurant or use your neighbor's kitchen? And without power, how on earth do you like expect to like charge your like electronics like your phone? Because most people these days, they carry phones. Like there's people like as young as, I don't know if it's the same around the world, but in Canada there's people who are as young as, I would say, maybe like 6 or 7 who have their like own phones. And so like how on earth do you like, and even most adults and teenagers, they have their own phones. So a phone is like basically a live thing that people can't really like go without. And it's like once that battery, and once that your phone tells you that your battery is running low, that basically just kind of puts a huge damper on your day, like going like I don't really know how to say it. Like this is crazy. Like not having not having power to like charge your phone or anything else you need. Like I'm trying to think of some stuff that you might plug in, like a fridge, like a washing machine, a dryer. Like without power, you can't really do those things. And if you're a coffee drinker, you need hot water for that. And hot water, you need electricity for that. So that's crazy on how this is. And I guess if you need to use the bathroom, you have to go somewhere else. Like, guess you got, like, to me, that sounds like they're telling you that if you need to use the bathroom and you buy this house for $3.5 million, you have to you have to use a public bathroom or use the bathroom of your neighbors. Like, how on earth is this even possible? Like, I could imagine the houses being expensive, but seeing a house being sold without a kitchen or a toilet or power for $3.5 million, I find that hard to believe. Like, why is this even being advertised? Why is this even being sold? Like, this house is missing so many things to make it livable.
But that didn't stop a bidding war and someone paying $3.5 million. But what if you just want to rent? Surely...
So somebody actually bought this house? Did they do the renos themselves to add in the kitchen, the toilet, and actually make it have power? So what did they do exactly?
You can find a decent place to rent. Sadly, no. Median rents in Sydney exceed $3,000 per month.
What?
While Brisbane is not too far behind at $2,500. Historically, Australian rental rates increased at a reasonable amount per year. However, since 2020, annual rental rates have skyrocketed by over 8% per year. People are caught between a rock and a hard place, trying to pay 2024 rental prices with 2011 wages. And this would all be fine and dandy if people could find a place to live, but the demand for rental units is insatiable. Every rental unit application is met with dozens, if not hundreds, of competing applications.
Oh my
Meetings
gosh.
have lines wrapped around blocks, and at the end of the day, renters aren't fighting for anything beyond a place to live, a place to sleep, and a place to call home.
I could imagine, like, you're basically, like, trying to survive in Australia with these insane house prices, and let alone some of these houses not even, like, having things like a kitchen, a toilet, or power. I kind of want to know how this is happening. But it's definitely very frustrating if you're living in Australia and you're trying to find a place to live, a place to sleep, and a place to call home, and to even, like, have a roof over your head. Like, I could imagine that being really frustrating, because not only are living prices expensive, but finding rental is pretty expensive as well. Like $3,000 for rentals in Sydney and $2,500 in somewhere else. Like, that's crazy to me. I really don't know how on earth you're, like, able to live out in Australia if the prices are, like, so expensive. Like, they're so overly exceeding that it just makes it, like, hard to, like, even find a place to live.
100 other people applied for my apartment and, like, did the interviews.
It was really difficult. We were on Facebook groups for a while. There's just so much competition.
The dream of working hard to afford a comfortable life is slowly fading, and hardworking, honest Australians are left feeling hopeless. All of this begs the question, why is real estate out of control? The first culprit that many point to is immigration.
Well, this week the government say the migration system is broken and needs a massive overhaul.
From 2022 to 23, Australia welcomed nearly 740,000 people. To put things into perspective, that's more immigrants than any year in modern Australian history, and 200,000 more than pre-COVID levels. The impact of this huge spike in immigration is simple. More demand with the same housing supply equals higher prices. Specifically, economists and analysts believe that immigration has primarily impacted rental housing. The bulk of immigrants to Australia are temporary visa holders, and 70% of them are renters. The impact hits hard in migrant-heavy suburbs. For example, Melbourne's southeast or Sydney's inner southwest saw 18% jumps in rents in the last year. In addition, immigrants are often willing to split their unit with more people to stretch their dollar, outcompeting locals. This has led to an increased yield on rental rates on real estate that had not been seen in Australia for decades. But what about housing? The argument that immigrants are a primary contributor to the increase in housing prices is quite weak. Australia's migration rate has actually decreased over the last decade and is in line with historical averages. However, over the preceding years and decades, there is one big difference. While immigration has continued to grow with the population, housing starts have declined.
The construction industry is facing a catch-22 with the cost of building a new home rising again.
In 2023, 170,000 dwellings were completed, the lowest amount in a decade. At the same time, Australia saw the biggest spikes in immigration in a generation. So what?
This is insane to me. Like, not having enough housing in Australia, that is insane to me. And the fact that some of this isn't even affordable is even more alarming, to be honest with you. Like, I could imagine, like, trying to, like, find a house and then being like, okay, maybe this is where I want to start. And then I look at the price and be like, okay, this may be a little bit too much to pay, like, every now and then. Because in order to keep your house and your lease for it, you have to make sure that you're paying all the bills on time. Like the bills for you to live in, the place, your bill to have internet, your bill to have electricity, water, all that stuff. Like, and if you don't pay those bills, say for example you don't pay your hydro bill, you basically lose electricity until you pay it. Or if you don't pay internet, you basically lose access to internet until you pay it. So to me, this is actually kind of crazy that this is actually getting to that point, you know, like, and the fact that there isn't enough homes for people to like live in is even more alarming. Like, how on earth are you like supposed to like find a place to live if you just moved from another country to Australia and then finding out that there's nowhere to live? And the fact that some people are actually splitting their houses with other people so that way they can live in them is absolutely insane to me. Like, that's crazy on how this is actually an issue. Like I mentioned before, the housing prices in Canada, they don't go this deep. Like, to the point where they're actually driving you bankrupt, mostly. But the fact that they are actually just trying to, like, do all this, like, well, not just this, but the fact that they're just trying to, like, keep these houses, like, afloat and making sure that you can actually, like, live in them is just crazy expensive. Like, sure, some places in Australia may be cheaper than some places in Canada, but some places in Australia are also more expensive than they are here, than they are in Canada as well. So, yeah, I'm actually trying to like figure out like why this is like even a problem. Like, I'm actually kind of frustrated that this is actually a problem. So, like, yeah, what is the cause for all this?
Gives. Since 1966, the number of homes being built relative to the population of Australia has been declining. Specifically, in the year 2000, building rates fell off a cliff, creating a significant supply shortage whose impact can still be felt today. One of the main culprits for Australia's decline in housing starts is culture. Australia is a very suburban environment where communities and citizens have opted for urban sprawl over densification. For example, Sydney and Melbourne have about 2,000 people per square kilometer.
Okay.
Compare this to 6,000 in London, 4,400 in Munich, and 3,600 in Amsterdam. It is a shocking difference. When compared to other major Western cities, Australian cities are some of the least densely populated in the world. Many Australians believe that a suburban environment is ideal for raising families and safe communities. Thankfully, Australia has a ton of land that is mostly unpopulated. Theoretically, they can continue to build outward and maintain sprawl. Sydney alone could add 280,000 homes in its greenfield growth areas. But sadly, this would work in theory, but Australia has a major NIMBY problem. Even though Australia is going through an extreme housing crisis, March 2024 saw the lowest number of detached home approvals since 2012. These aren't high-rise condos, these are detached, single-family suburban homes. Strong community advocacy and government red tape lead to extremely long approval times for housing developments. For example, to receive an approval for a single home development in New South Wales, it takes 111 days on average. In Liverpool, that jumps to 288 to 111. Receiving lead to extremely long approval times for housing developments. For example, to receive an approval for a single home development in New South Wales, it takes 111 days on average. In Liverpool, that jumps to 288 days. Compare this to Texas, where it generally takes less than a week. These long wait.
So, okay, so like if it takes longer in Liverpool and shorter in Texas, and Australia is like facing these problems with housing, why does it need to take 111 days to like wait for approval to actually start developing housing? Like, why does it need to take that like that long? Like that's crazy to me. Like, this is actually, like, something that's actually happening. And the fact that it takes 111 days just to wait for housing development approval, that is insane to me. And the fact that it takes longer in Liverpool and shorter in Texas is just crazy on, like, how this isn't, like, how big this issue really is. And the fact that there's, like, less people in Australia than other parts of the world, like, how on earth is this, like, even starting to, like, be a problem? Like, out of everything, I would not expect, like, 2,000 people who live in these two big cities of Australia to, like, have this much of an issue where this actually, like, this is honestly really serious, but the fact that this is actually just, like, a problem in on itself, like, this is insane. I am actually getting a little bit, I'm actually a little bit mad with this rule, actually. But yeah, the fact that this is an issue, and the fact that houses are missing some stuff, how on earth does this even, like, be a problem? Like, what? What? Like, why are the wait times, like, so long? This is insane.
Times have made it impossible for the government to achieve home building targets. Specifically, Australia is on track to build 40% less homes than needed to meet the government's affordable housing targets. The low rate of approvals for housing has created an artificial land scarcity, which in turn has driven up the price of land. Since 2020, home values have risen at 3 times the rate of apartments.
What?
With land becoming such a scarce resource, it further challenges developments, as it becomes increasingly expensive to acquire and develop land economically. But this is almost entirely by design, as scarce land benefits homeowners. This has had a tremendous impact on young people in particular. Remember, home ownership rates for young people have dropped by 25%, compared to only 8% for the general population. Okay, we can all agree that immigration and low development rates are worsening Australia's housing crisis. But there is another critical factor at play: tax incentives. During the 1930s, Australia had a major housing shortage and wanted to encourage investment in rental properties. To encourage this, the country introduced negative gearing. Negative gearing allows an investor to offset the losses on a rental property against their personal income. For example, if you make $100,000 per year and lost $10,000 on your rental property, you can deduct the $10,000 off your personal income tax. This idea is pretty novel. In fact, out of the entire OECD, only New Zealand and Japan have these policies. During the 1980s,
Oh my gosh. This is a disaster. Oh my gosh. How on earth are you supposed to live out here if all of this is, like, happening? And this is only, like, so... I don't even know how to describe this. Like, how on earth are you supposed to live like this with all these problems? And the saddest part is if all these problems weren't an issue, this would actually be, like, affordable to live in. It's honestly kind of sad, like, once you think about it.
In the 80s, the government tried to change negative gearing rules, imposing restrictions on deductions that can be claimed, similar to the United Kingdom. But this was met with significant backlash, and negative gearing was returned to its original form. As the old adage goes, you can give, but you can never take. At the same time, in the 1980s, the government removed interest rate controls, which made it meaningfully cheaper for Australians to use debt to buy homes. This made negative gearing even more attractive, and allowed people to leverage debt to execute the strategy. Now, this alone isn't enough to put Australia over the edge. Not only can you leverage negative gearing, but you can also hold real estate investments in your retirement account known as a super. For those who don't know, a super is similar to an IRA. Like an IRA, a super has meaningful tax benefits, and when buying real estate, rental income taxes are reduced to 15% instead of your marginal rate. Unlike the US, where buying real estate through an IRA is a huge pain and costly, in Australia, it's extremely easy and often encouraged. But that isn't all. There's more. In 1999, the Australian government reduced capital gains on real estate sales by 50%. And if you're holding your property in a super, you're effectively only 10% tax. There is almost no country where you're effectively only paying
I want to go back a little bit.
50%. And if you're holding your property in a super, you're effectively only paying a 10% tax.
What?
There's almost no country on earth that has such a favorable tax regime for property investors. Australia is truly exceptional. This tax regime has been criticized heavily. The argument against it is that it materially benefits landowners and older Australians, and frankly, the argument is quite sound. These tax policies have encouraged speculation in real estate and are costing taxpayers nearly $8 billion per year.
What?
Some might argue that this is overblown, but when 50 to 80% of all investment properties are negatively geared, there is a problem. A system that encourages speculation on income-losing properties is highly flawed and very unique. But this has created another challenge. Australia has made it so good to invest in non-productive assets like real estate that no one bothers to invest in anything else. Australia's productivity growth.
What? This is insane to me. You're investing more into housing than anything else? Like, how on earth is this like a real thing? Like I understand that the housing is expensive and it's a big crisis in Australia, but the fact that it's like you're investing so much into housing to not focus on anything else is absolutely crazy to me. I don't really know what else to say other than this is insane. Like, the fact that you're, like, in Canada, there are many things that we try to invest for besides housing. Because when you grow up in Canada, you're, like, investing into, like, what you want to do when you finish high school. Then you want to invest money so that way you can go to college or university. And you also want to invest money so that way once that you're done, so that way after your first couple of years of college or university and you're living in a dorm that is offered on campus, you have some money, like your investment, to like live in a new place once that your contract for the dorm on the college or university campus expires, because you can only because these campuses, they only your contracts with them to live in the dormitories only last for so long, because I believe after the first, second, or third year, that is when they want you to try and find your own place. I don't know if it's the same in other countries, but I do know that it's something that is that is basically kind of relevant in Canada for post-secondary education. But the fact that you're investing more into houses more than anything, it's good that you're investing into housing no matter what your source is. But if you're doing it, but if that's the only thing you want to invest into, I could imagine it being a little bit of a problem, because you need investments to basically invest your money into other things. That's crazy. This is a real issue. Wow.
Has been slowing over the last few decades. The average annual labor productivity growth between 2010 and 2020 was only 1.1%, significantly lower than previous decades. A lot of this is due to lack of innovation and growth in non-service and non-mining sectors in Australia. The best way to put in perspective how little Australia innovates is to look at its R&D spend as a percentage of GDP. In 2022, Australia spent 1.7% of GDP on R&D. When compared to other major nations, that is terrible. The OECD average is 2.4%, and major countries like the US, Germany, and the United Kingdom are all far better than Australia. As a result, nominal GDP per capita and real GDP per capita have not increased over the last 10 years. Wages and job prospects are eroding while cost of living continues to rise. The loser? Hardworking Australians. Even when you compare business and income tax, it's clear that Australia is deciding that land ownership is the most important investment activity.
Yes,
Average income
that
taxes
it is.
charged in Australia are higher than all but 3 OECD countries, and corporate taxes are no different. Australia's corporate tax rate is 6.3% higher than the OECD average, and when comparing Australia's small business tax to even Canada's, Australia's is 2.5 times higher.
So, what was he saying again?
Higher than the OECD average, and when comparing Australia's small business tax to even Canada's, Australia's is 2.5 times higher. Currently,
So, the small business tax in Australia is 2.5 times higher than it is here in Canada. How, like, what? How on earth is this, like a thing? I know that I've been saying this a lot, but this is, like, a huge problem here in Australia. And the fact that it's a problem in Australia is kind of actually a little bit concerning, because when you look at how things here are in Canada, it may not seem as bad. Like, yes, there are definitely issues that we face, investment-wise, but it's nowhere close to what Australia is like. And to me, that's insane.
Australia collects a disproportionate amount of government revenue from income taxes and corporate taxes, and a disproportionately low amount from real estate. As Charlie Munger famously said, "Show me the incentives and I'll show you the outcome." Here you have it, a government that has incentivized speculation on housing while disincentivizing working hard and building productive businesses. The incentive to hoard land, the outcome, a terribly unfair economic system.
Yeah,
I can already imagine.
no doubt. Like, it's frustrating to, like, live in Australia that all these problems are, like, coming in, and, like, it's, like, kind of, like, collapsing in on you, and then you realize that these investments aren't, like, being put into, like, other things, like businesses, to basically, you know, like, have, like, a place to go to, because there are many essential businesses in, not just in Australia, but in Canada as well. I'm trying to think of Australian stores that I reacted to, like, a couple, like, not too long ago. Like, I remember there was Woolworths, there was Big W, but there was quite a few of them that are definitely really important. And even, like, clothing stores, like Just Jeans, Platypus Shoes, just thinking of, like, some popular, the popular Australian stores that I'm trying to remember right now. But yeah, like that to me, it's insane on how this is, like, actually a real problem. Like, when I first heard about it being impossible to live in Australia, I was just thinking of housing prices. But seeing all these economic problems is just even more concerning. Like, the fact that all this investment is like being put into housing, like this is like a huge risk to like businesses, whether big or small. Like this could like cause like store closures, some places to even like go out of business. Like the fact that this is like a real issue is really concerning, and I could only imagine like where this could go well, this was apparently according to this guy, it said that this was like a problem back in 2024. It's 2025 right now as of the time I'm recording this video, so it's gonna be like really scary to see like where this goes like 9 or 14 years like down the road, or if we want to round it up to like 10 or 15, like that's like really scary, you know, like the fact that this is like a real big problem. It's more than what you really expect, you know, like you wouldn't really expect to like run into so many problems when buying a house. But when you look at Australia and the housing crisis and the housing crisis there, this is like a nightmare. Like I could only imagine what it's like for like Australians and people living there trying to find a house. Like this honestly sounds like a real nightmare, like a living nightmare that you just want to wake up from and you can't escape from. Like that's kind of scary once you look at it that way.
Imagine the comments on this video, blaming political parties for the issues at hand. And that might be easy to blame any single government for the housing crisis in Australia. But in reality, this problem has persisted for decades. The Labour Party of Paul Keating saw a modest rise in housing prices, while concurrently seeing a rapid modernisation and growth of the overall Australian economy. Overall, his tenure was mostly balanced. But then John Howard came in and saw the greatest rise in housing prices in modern Australian history. Under his tenure, housing more than doubled. Then the Labour Party got 3 chances, but housing continued to grow, only slowing down because of the financial crisis. Following this was the coalition government. Tony Abbott, strike. Malcolm Turnbull, strike. Scott Morrison, strike. And housing still out of control. Now, with Anthony Albanese at the helm, we finished the decade with a massive increase in housing prices. If you bought a home in 1992 for $500,000, today it would be worth $2.4 million. And if you were born after 1992, you probably don't own a home and might never. The conclusion is simple. This is beyond political parties. Australia's housing crisis runs deep. It is something that cannot be solved by jumping from one bandwagon to the next. What will it require? Incentivizing business investment, lowering income taxes for hardworking Australians, abolishing negative gearing, lowering capital gains incentives, removing red tape to encourage development, and educated Australians who can keep politicians honest. You are the solution, and your tool is policy. Good luck. Subscribe to 2 and 20 for more economics and finance.
Hey, wow, this is definitely I learned a lot here. But knowing that this is like a problem is absolutely insane. Like, I could have never imagined this being like a real issue in Australia. The fact that this is like I don't even know like how to imagine like what this is like. And the fact that some people in Australia may not ever be able to experience like living in a house after, if you were born after 1992, is crazy. Like, for me, I was born in 2002. Like, I was born like 10 years like after this huge problem kind of became a thing. And the fact that the housing is now a problem, and it's just skyrocketing. Like how it went from like how a house could go from like $500,000 to now $2.4 million. Like, to me, that is insane. But the fact that you have to like pay the loans like every now and then is just insane to me. So wow, yeah, that's definitely a lot of concerns there. Like once you put this into perspective, really. But anyways, I think with all that being said, I think so I'm going to end off this video. If you guys haven't enjoyed this video, please make sure to like button, and also don't forget to subscribe, because I try and do videos every single day. And if you have anything else that you want me to react to and learn things about Australia, you can leave them down in the comments below. And also, until then, I will see you guys in the next one. Goodbye!